Okay, so let's begin with the display. When you first turn on the unit, the display is going to say MPC, but once the software is launched, the screen will change to the one you see right here. The screen basically gives you an overview of the current operation, and it will also change depending on what option you select. Before I get into what things are, I kind of want to go over the terminology that Akai uses to describe things, because this will help you better understand the studio. So we're going to talk about projects, programs, sequences, and tracks. So for starters, we have projects. And a project is basically your song or beat and everything contained within it. So that's the samples, the instruments, the notes, etc. Next, we have programs. And a program is basically what you assign to your pads. So a program can consist of drums, or a plugin, or a MIDI track, or a key group, which is basically like a sampled instrument, and a few other things which we'll get into in another video. And moving on, we have sequences, which a sequence is basically your tracks and notes that make up your song. And those notes, when recorded, are placed into tracks. So tracks are like a container for, the notes within your sequence. So, not understanding these things, the projects, programs, sequences, and tracks, to me, I think is the biggest reason why people give up on the MPC. And it's a shame, because if you ask me, the MPC is a dope piece of gear once you get the hang of it. So now that we've gotten that out the way, now we can discuss what we're looking at. So first we're going to start with the window, and in the top left corner, you can see there's a little box right here. So what that is it just corresponds to what's going on with your cue links over here. So as you see, when I'm scrolling, or when I'm moving the scroll wheel, it's actually moving that line up and down. And if you're looking at your computer screen with the software open while doing that, you can see it's moving the highlighted cue links, the highlight that's around the cue links around. Now, one thing to note, and I think, they kind of dropped the ball in this, is that these cue links should actually be like this, because the top one corresponds to the cue link on the left, and the bottom, to the one on the right. The good thing about, the cue links is that you can just touch them, and on your screen, you can see the current, knob that you're going to affect, will be highlighted. So that makes it really helpful, so that you don't turn a knob and adjust the wrong thing. So moving on, where it says now is basically where you're at in the timeline. So if you click play, you can see the time starts going, and below it there's a timeline, kind of indicator thing here that just moves across and lets you know, gives you a visual representation of, where you're at in your time. Moving below that, we have sequence 001. And it's unused because we have no notes entered. Remember, we just discussed sequences. Below that, we have our BPM, that's our tempo. We have the length of our current sequence, which is 2 bars. You can see it's counting 1 bar, 2 bars, and then it loops. Right here, you can see loop is set to on, so it loops right back to the beginning. And then below that, we have TRAN, which is short for transpose. Now, transposing it's basically when music is played higher or lower than where it's currently at. So I don't think the transpose affects like the drums, if I remember correctly. It only affects like an instrument. So if we had an instrument assigned, we could actually shift the pitch up or down with the transpose. So over here we have in and out, that's for MIDI in and out. And to the right of that, I believe that's a track indicator. So we go down to our tracks, and I'm gonna move this around, and as you can see, it's moving the square around there. So it's just telling us, it's a visual representation. Jesus, I can't talk today. A visual representation of what track we're currently working on. To the right of that, we have a these are for your sound. These are your sound level indicators. So when music is playing, you'll see those bars jumping up and down. Okay, over here we have our current track, which we're in track 1. It's unused, there's nothing here. And the length of that track is the length of our sequence. The type of track is a drum track, and it's because that's what's assigned to program 1. So again, we can change our type of program over here by moving around. We can change it to a plug-in, MIDI, key group, a clip, or CV. And then below that we have our velocity for our current track, which is set to 100%. That's full volume basically. And then over here it's telling us we have MIDI selected. If we click here, we'll see this is if we were recording audio, this is where our meters would be showing us that we're recording audio. We can also go up and down tracks to create new tracks. And then we can mute our current track or solo our current track. So that about covers the LCD window.